It started with snow and silence. A child's body, laid out carefully in the cold, as if someone had tried to tuck him in. The snow beneath him was untouched. No footprints, no tire tracks, no drag marks. Just a boy, dead and alone in a shopping center parking lot. His arms folded over his chest, like he was sleeping. That was February 19th, 1976. The boy was 12-year-old Mark Stebbins. He had been missing for 4 days. Mark had spent the afternoon at the American Legion Hall in Ferndale, Michigan, watching a snowmobile race. It wasn't far from his home. He told his mom he'd be back soon. But when evening came and he didn't walk through the door, she started calling. First friends, then police. She was told not to worry, that it was probably just a boy being a boy. He'd come home. But he didn't. And when he was found, it was clear someone had taken their time. Mark had been strangled with a ligature. He'd also been sexually assaulted. But after the killing, the murderer had done something unusual. He'd bathed the boy, redressed him in the same clothes he was wearing the day he disappeared, and laid him out with eerie gentleness. Whoever this was, they weren't just disposing of a body, they were making a statement. And they weren't finished. 10 months later, on December 22nd, 1976, another child disappeared. Jill Robinson, age 12. It was just 2 days before Christmas. She had a fight with her mother that night. Nothing dramatic, just the sort of argument that happens between a preteen and a parent. Jill stormed off on her bike. She never came back. Her bicycle was discovered the next day behind a local hobby shop, but there was no sign of Jill. The days passed. Her family waited. And then on Christmas morning, she was found. Her body had been left beside I-75, not far from Troy. She'd been shot in the face with a shotgun at close range, but like Mark, she was fully clothed, clean, placed gently, not tossed. A second child, gone. Posed, presented, murdered. And Oakland County took notice. What had once been considered a tragic fluke now looked like a pattern, but no one wanted to believe it. Because if there really was someone out there targeting children, then no one was safe. On January 2nd, 1977, the new year had barely begun when it happened again. Christine Mihelic was just 10 years old. A quiet girl, soft-spoken and kind. That day, she walked to a 7-Eleven to buy a teen magazine. The store wasn't far, just a few blocks from her home in Berkeley. She was gone less than 5 minutes. And that's all it took. She never returned. Her mother called police almost immediately. The whole community sprang into action. By then, they had learned what could happen if they waited. Volunteers handed out flyers. Officers searched door to door. Her face was everywhere, but she was nowhere. 19 days later, a mail carrier found her body in a ditch in Franklin Village. Once again, posed. Once again, redressed. She'd been smothered this time. Her body was clean, her nails trimmed. Someone had held her for over 2 weeks before killing her, carefully, quietly. Now there was panic. 3 children, all within a year. All abducted in broad daylight from busy places. All returned like offerings, delivered back to the very people who had tried to protect them. The media dubbed him the Oakland County Child Killer. The name stuck, and with each press conference, each headline, the fear spread further. That fear reached its peak on March 16th, 1977. Timothy King was 11 years old, a bright kid, polite, dependable. He borrowed 30 cents from his sister to buy candy at a pharmacy just a block from home. The clerk remembered him, said he was smiling. Polite. He left the store with a bag of candy and was never seen again. 6 days later, his body was discovered in a ditch off Gill Road in Livonia. He had been sexually assaulted, suffocated, and, just like the others, redressed and placed carefully on display. There was no blood, no bruises, no chaos, just a child who had been methodically cleaned, murdered, and returned. This time, though, there was a lead. A woman came forward. She said she saw a boy matching Tim's description talking to a man in a blue AMC Gremlin with a white stripe. Police released a composite sketch. The image was broadcast across the state. The car was distinctive. Police were hopeful. They received hundreds of tips. And just like that, the trail vanished into the noise. No arrests, no charges, no justice. And after Timothy King, the killing stopped. But the damage was done. The suburbs of Oakland County, Ferndale, Royal Oak, Birmingham, had once felt safe, peaceful, the kind of place where doors were left unlocked and bikes were left in the yard. Now, parents walked their kids to school, children stopped going out alone, trust shattered. Behind closed doors, the investigation was falling apart. Thousands of tips flooded in. Police formed a task force, assembled across jurisdictions. But agencies clashed. Files were lost. Leads were mismanaged. And worst of all, some of the most promising evidence was ignored. One of the strangest clues came from a man named Arch Sloan. He was a convicted pedophile. His car was impounded during the investigation. Police found hair fibers in the back seat. Those same fibers matched samples found on 2 of the victims. But the DNA wasn't Sloan's. That meant someone else had access to his car. Someone who might have borrowed it. Someone who was close enough to slip away. Sloan refused to cooperate. To this day, he's never revealed who may have used the car. And legally, there was nothing authorities could do. Then came a letter. In 1978, a psychiatrist in Detroit contacted police. He said he'd received a disturbing letter from a man calling himself Alan. Alan claimed to be a former war buddy of the killer, someone he called Frank. According to Alan, Frank had confessed to killing children in Oakland County, said it helped him control urges, that he felt powerful when he did it. Alan claimed Frank was dead now, killed by someone who knew what he had done. But the details in the letter were chilling, specific, raw, and eerily accurate. It mentioned places, feelings, methods, things that weren't public. Police tried to find Alan. They never did. Some think the letter was a hoax. Others believe it was real, and that Alan may have been more than just a friend. Over the next 2 decades, more theories emerged. One of the most disturbing involved a man named Francis Sheldon. Sheldon was a wealthy Michigan socialite with ties to North Fox Island, a remote property in Lake Michigan. He had allegedly used the island to run a child pornography operation under the guise of a nature retreat. Children were flown in. Abuse was filmed, distributed, sold. When authorities closed in, Sheldon vanished. He was never found. Several detectives working the Oakland County Child Killer case believed there was overlap between the timelines, the locations, the victims, that the 4 murdered children might have been part of something much bigger. That theory was never proven, but it never went away either. Then came Christopher Bush. Bush was the son of a General Motors executive, wealthy, entitled. In 1977, he was charged with multiple counts of child molestation. He lived just miles from where the victims had disappeared. His drawings, found later, depicted children bound, gagged, tortured. But despite the evidence, Bush was never charged in connection with the killings, and just weeks after the final murder, he was found dead in his home. A shotgun blast to the head. Ruled a suicide, but there were oddities. No fingerprints on the weapon, no gunshot residue on his hands, bloody sheets, but no sign of struggle, and the walls of his room were covered in disturbing sketches. Police ruled it a suicide. But many questioned whether it was a cover-up, whether someone wanted him silenced, or whether he took the truth with him. Years passed. The case grew cold. In 2007, DNA technology gave investigators a new tool. The hair samples recovered decades earlier were tested again. They came back, consistent across victims. The same person had been in contact with at least 2 of the children. But they still had no match. Whoever it was, he'd never been arrested, never entered into any database, and to this day, that DNA remains unidentified. Families were left in limbo. The King family, in particular, fought for answers. Tim's father went public. He accused the police of stonewalling, of burying leads. He claimed that someone, somewhere, was protecting someone else. And he wasn't alone in thinking that. The deeper people dug, the more it looked like something was being hidden. Records were sealed, FOIA requests denied, journalists turned away. There were whispers of corruption, of mishandled evidence, of names that kept showing up and kept being ignored. More than 40 years later, the community still carries the weight of what happened. 4 children, gone, 4 families, shattered, and a killer, maybe more than one, who was never caught. The Oakland County Child Killer case isn't just about who did it. It's about who allowed it to happen, who looked the other way, who knew more than they ever said. It's a story of evil, but also of silence. And that silence may be the loudest part of all. Thank you for listening to The Lantern's Tale. Subscribe for more true stories, if you dare.